All right, a very good afternoon, everyone. I hope that you are doing well, keeping yourself safe and sound, and moreover, keeping up with all your studying and your syllabus, especially in terms of CIN708. I hope that you're keeping up in terms of attending your lecture-based quizzes. Moreover, you have a critique writing, which is due on the 1st of September. So 1st of September, if I'm not wrong, that is upcoming Wednesday. Okay, so please try your best to ensure that you are able to submit your critique writing by the 1st of September, else there is a 10% deduction per day. Moreover, your mid-semester exam, I've already prepared your mid-semester exam. It will open up on the 5th of September. So please ensure that you are dedicating yourself enough revision time. You are dedicating yourself to getting well versed with our syllabus and our coverages. Do go over your tutorials, do go over your lecture-based quizzes. Moreover, also the case studies that we are discussing in the classes. Now, you must know that all the case studies that we are actually discussing in the classes, they are one way or the other linked to your lecture notes. So you need to know the important aspects of your lecture notes as well. Now, it's going back to the week 5 section of the Moodle shell. Those of you who have attempted the tutorial, there's about 5 of you have attempted out of the 25. So the other 20 is yet to attempt it. Those of you have attempted, thank you very much for putting in your time and effort. I appreciate it. And also, I have already provided you with the sample answers just about 2 or 3 minutes ago. Yeah, 2 or 3 minutes ago, I've just provided with the sample answers. The recording for our lecture notes is up on Moodle. Okay, so those of you who will be viewing this video in your own time and are not able to attend the class promptly with us, please do go over the recordings. Now, what all we are left with for week 5, as per this class, we are left with the tutorial discussion. So I will open up the tutorial discussion. So you had a total of 6 tutorial questions which you should have answered in the tutorial forum. You still have time. Okay, once you answer it, I will be providing you with the sample answers. And then we had 2 sets of case studies which we will be discussing straight away. So without further delay, let's hop into case study 1. Now, before that, is there any questions, any queries from anyone? Any questions, any queries from anyone? Do you have some doubts or anything? All right, if no questions, no doubts, then all seems pretty much set. So let's go and discuss this. Case study 1, 5 ways hackers can get into your business. Now, this particular week, our lecture notes was basically based on information security and information ethics. In other words, ethics is the difference between what is right, what is wrong, and that too in moral view. That means what is morally right and what is morally wrong. When you talk about information ethics, it's very much same as ethics, but more information related. That means the way you use information, how do you determine what is right and what is wrong? That is what information ethics is about. And when you talk about information security, you're talking about a set of policies, a set of procedures in which you can protect or secure information within your organization. So deriving from that comes this case study. That means 5 ways in which hackers can get into your business. Now, hackers don't care about size. Pardon me, hackers don't care about, hackers don't care what size your business is. They only care if they can get past your defenses and relieve you of your valuables. Hackers actually like small businesses as they tend to have more to steal than any individual persons, but fewer cyber defenses than a large company. The hard reality is that most small businesses stand at least a 50-50 chance of being targeted for attacks or attacked by hackers. Now, what it simply means here is what all hackers want is basically they want your valuables. Now, when it says your valuables, they're more talking about in a business point of view, because this is ways hackers can get into your business. So the valuable things that are generally in your businesses is your information, your most likely your intellectual property, okay, whatever comes through the mind, the important things, the confidential stuffs. So these are some of the things that hackers are after. Now, hackers, more intently, what they do is they target small businesses. Now, why target small businesses? Because hackers actually know that with small businesses, there is a much more smaller or limited defense levels. In other words, there is very little things to be done to protect your information. Why? Because small businesses do not invest in large IT equipments or in large IT procedures, in large IT defenses to actually protect their information or data. By the way, if you are not able to see the screens, please do let me know. Okay, there's a slight bit of network issue from yesterday. Moodle was unfortunately causing some problems yesterday evening, and also just because of a bit of wet weather, the internet connection is a bit slower. So just in case if you're not able to hear me out, do let me know, drop me a chat message through the Zoom platform. Now, did you know, so these are some of the facts and figures, once every 3 minutes, the average company comes into contact with viruses and malware. One every 291 email messages contains a virus. 3 things hackers want most are customer data, intellectual property, and bank account information. The top 5 file names used in phishing scams are details.zip, ups_document.zip, dcim.zip, report.zip, and scan.zip. The average annual cost of cyber attack on a small or medium-sized business is $188,242. Now, these are some of the facts and figures about hackers. Now, once every 3 minutes, there is an average virus or malware attack. In close to about 1 in every 291 emails, there is a virus. Okay, now viruses in emails, they come in the following forms: detailed.zip, that means through a form of a zip file. The UPS document, if somebody would see that, now these are common things that generally people send in attachments to the use of emails, like UPS_document. Most likely it may fool someone that UPS is a shipping company, okay, and a freight company. So people would think, okay, so somebody has sent me a freight or something like that. Now, DCIM is most likely a type, a file type. It's a file type for an image. So DCIM. Now, you may also see this in your own mobile phones. If you connect your mobile phones up to a computer, a desktop, okay, and if you try to view the images, it will be under a DCIM folder. Okay, so these are the common ones: report and scan. And then the average annual cost, that means once every year, on average basis, there's close to about $188,000 worth of cyber attack in small to medium businesses. That's still a lot of money. Cyber thieves are always looking for new ways to gain access to your business data, business networks, and business applications. The best way to protect your business from cyber theft is to build a strong defense and be able to identify vulnerabilities and weak spots. The top 5 ways hackers will try to gain access to your businesses, according to John Brandon of Inc. magazine, are highlighted in figure 1.47. Please note that there are far more than 5 ways. These are just the 5 common ways. So what we're going to look at is the 5 common ways in which cyber thieves or hackers generally go around attacking businesses. Now, we have talked about all these already in our lecture slides. It's good to actually see the examples that are laid out in the real world environment. So you have weak passwords. With a $300 graphics card, a hacker can run 420 billion simple lowercase 8-character password combinations a minute. Now, how would they do that? They use it to the use of scripting, to the use of computer science technologies or coding. Now, remember, hackers are not, they're not this as in like poor students in terms of academic wise. These are smart and brilliant students. Now, mostly hackers are intelligent people, okay, because you wouldn't be able to perform such set of codes unless and until you are smart. And if you look at the definition for hackers, these are all the people who break out into a computer system out of intellectual curiosity. In other words, meaning they do it for the purpose of testing their knowledge and skills. Second point, cyber attacks involve weak passwords 80% of the time. 55% of people use one password for all logins. Very true. Your passwords can be very weak. When we say very weak, you're just using your names probably, or you're just using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. Many people do that. Sometimes people use QWERTY, QWERTY, the first few sets of alphabets that you see in a keyboard, or sometimes people just name it after their loved ones. Okay, so these are weak passwords. Normally, when you look at passwords, it should be a combination of uppercase, lowercase, alphabets, numbers, symbols. When you combine them and mix them together, that forms a much more stronger password. When you see a weak password, it's mostly using one or two elements of what I've just spoken. Now, 55% of people use one password for all logins. What it simply means is this: you have a Facebook account, you have a Twitter, you have a bank account, you have a work email account, and so forth. So the passwords for all these accounts are same. If a person is able to hack or get access to even just one of those passwords, he or she will be able to log into all the other accounts. Okay, so one must ensure that he or she is able to have separate passwords and strong passwords. Now, otherwise, hackers actually gain to the business is hackers cracked 6.4 million LinkedIn passwords. You know what LinkedIn is? It's a social network site as well, but more preferably, it is for employment purposes. So what a person does, he or she creates a LinkedIn profile and feeds in his or her qualification. And if there is a job vacancy, people see how capable or how much caliber you actually have with experience, they may call you up or they may contact you for a job. Okay, it makes you more marketable in the world of getting a better job. And 1.5 million eHarmony passwords in separate attacks. Your best defense, how can you best defend all these three issues? One, use a unique password for each account. Aim for at least 20 characters and preferably gibberish, not real words. When we say somebody is speaking gibberish, that means you can't make out what he or she is saying. So that's what you are supposed to do in your password. Your password should be as such, even if somebody tries to pronounce it, he or she is not able to do so. That is what we call it as gibberish. Insert special characters. Like I mentioned, you have a @ hashtag, $, asterisk, ampersand sign. By the way, I've seen students normally calling this as an and sign. No, it's not and, it's called an ampersand. It's an ampersand sign. Try a password manager such as LastPass or Dashline. You can also do that. Now, when you use a password manager, it gives a strong password. However, you must have the capability to remember the strong password. So these passwords normally would be a mix of random characters and a mix of random numbers and symbols. So if you want to remember your password from such a password software-based manager, you should ensure that you have a good memory or remembering capability. Next up is malware. Now, what is malware? Malware are those viruses that generally come up with any form of downloads that you do. And what do? Is they make your computer slower, or they can also track activities in your computer system. The most common thing with malwares is rather than causing damage, they tend to annoy you a lot. Why? Because these are some of those attacks or some of those examples of attacks whereby people get initially very, very tired of these things. So how do you, let's see some examples and your best defense. An infected website, USB drive, or application delivers software that can capture keystrokes, passwords, and data. So malware also has the capability to do that, to capture your keystrokes. When you talk about keystrokes, generally keystrokes are whatever you are typing in your computer's keyboard. Okay, it can capture password as well, and it can also capture data. So another system, if you look at this password, it captures keystrokes. So if you look at this example, captures keystrokes, password, and data. Most likely the malware has an embedded keylogger with it as well. Now, keyloggers are those softwares that tracks the keystrokes in your computer system. An 8% increase in malware attacks against small businesses occur yearly. The average loss from a target attack was $92,000. Victims of infected mobile developers' website attacks include Apple, Facebook, and Twitter. Now, why these sites? Why mostly these particular websites, Apple, Facebook, and Twitter, and the infected mobile developers websites? Because these are some of the sites where there is more traffic. When we say more traffic, more people, more and more number of people generally go on these websites. So for a hacker, the more the people, the more the number of people, the more the number of accounts. The more the number of accounts, more the data. The more the data, and the more the number of people, more people communicating with each other. So that means when somebody's, if I'm communicating with someone who is in Australia, that means the data travels from my computer to his or her computer in Australia. So if my computer is infected here, there's a likely chance his or her computer can easily get affected as well. Okay, so that's why these popular sites. Your best defense: run robust malware detection software such as the Norton toolbar. Now, malware detection software, you don't need to buy a separate malware detection software. You can also get an antivirus program which has these capabilities. Norton used to be one of the top class antivirus softwares. Okay, used to be on top. Nowadays, I think the first one is Bitdefender. That is one of the highest ranked antivirus programs at the moment. Okay, so you can make use of such applications. However, please do note these applications are not for free. The ones which are free, they may not provide you with adequate protection. Keep existing software updated. It's also very important that you must update all existing softwares. Now, updating all existing softwares basically means, for example, if you're using Windows 10, so with Windows 10, you have a built-in antivirus program. So when you update the software, the antivirus definition also upgrades. Okay, when we say antivirus definition, it's more like saying adding new features to the program. So when there's a new virus, you need a new definition or a new patch for that virus. So when you update the computer system, that's the time these things are updated. Use an iPhone, Android phones are targeted more than any other mobile operating systems. Okay, it says use an iPhone. Okay, and Android phones are most likely targeted. I'm not so sure how many of us in Fiji can actually afford an iPhone, but we must know that iPhones, they are not susceptible to viruses. In other words, saying they do not attract much viruses. Previously, there was a time it didn't attract any virus, but now it is. I read over the websites. I've read over some research papers whereby they do are prone to viruses now, but not to that extent. When you talk about Android phones, yes, these are way more cheaper than iPhones, but they are more susceptible to viruses. In other words, saying they attract viruses more easily. Now, why does that happen? It depends on the manufacturer. So Apple designs or Apple builds their devices as such, whereas Androids, okay, they build their devices a bit differently. And that's why you'll notice that iPhones are way more expensive than Androids, and their market for sales, their market for revenue remains quite higher than what Android is doing. You'll notice over a period of time, Android phones, their prices go down. iPhone still remains the same most of the time. Now, phishing emails. Phishing emails is just a way of saying that somebody is tricking you to reveal some set of data, especially to the use of emails. Okay. Now, bogus means fake, but official looking emails prompt you to enter your password and click links to infected websites. I remember giving an example in our lecture class. Somebody sends you an email telling you, dear sir or madam, can you please click on this link to update your ANZ internet banking username and password? Now, the email looks as legitimate as possible. When you click on the link, the website looks legitimate, but it is not. It's a bogus site and bogus email. So when you enter your username and password, what happens is instead of you going around changing the internet password for your internet banking account, you end up revealing your username and password for your internet banking accounts, and eventually, over a period of time, money will start disappearing from your bank. Now, a 125% rise in social media phishing attacks has occurred since 2012. Okay, that means 125. That means more than double. Fishers are those people who practice in fishing. Okay, fishers steal $1 billion from small businesses yearly. Just imagine stealing $1 billion from small businesses on an year basis. Now, this is stats for US, not here in Fiji. I'm not so sure to what extent we have fishing happening here in the country, because we do not have any data revealed on it. Okay, in US they do. So this is what their cost of damage is. Many small businesses are targeted with phishing emails designed to look like Better Business Bureau warnings. Your best defense: keep existing software, operating systems, and browsers updated with latest patches. Like I mentioned in the previous example, don't automatically click links in emails to external sites. Retype the URL in your own browser. Okay, now here's the trick. So when you have someone who is unknown to you, sending you links of emails, okay, to external sites, okay, instead of clicking on it, you should type or retype it in a browser. Now, here's the thing. When somebody sends you a link, okay, and if you compare it, you manually typing it, the link of you actually going into the fisher's site, okay, it's broken the moment you type it down manually in your browser. Okay, by the way, URL is a website address. Browser: Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, Opera. All these programs are known as browsers. They basically allow you to view web pages. Next attack is social engineering. Now, social engineering is, in simple terms, if I have to define social engineering, this is a scenario whereby you tend to reveal your own personal or confidential data to someone over the use of the internet. And how do you do it? To the terms of conversing or talking with them. Social engineering. Think 21st century con artist tactics. Okay, example: hackers pretending to be you to research your passwords. Now, 29% of all security breaches involve some form of social engineering. Average loss is $25,000 to $100,000 per incident. In 2009, social engineers posed as Coca-Cola's CEO, persuading an executive to open an email with software that infiltrated the company's network. Okay, so you have a attack scenario to Coca-Cola's computer network, and they basically impersonated, okay, the CEO of the company, and they ended up doing things to the company's network. Now, your best defense against social engineering, very important. I don't know how many of you have a habit of doing this, but let's read the first point. Rethink what you reveal on social media. It's a fodder for social engineers. Now, some people have a very I don't find it much fascinating, okay, but some people have a habit of sharing their entire life on social media. Okay, it's good. It's your choice. It's your life. It's your web page. It's your social media page. It's your profile. You can do what you want, but with it comes certain consequences. Now, if you're someone who have a daily habit of, okay, you wake up in the morning, you leave home, post a picture. As soon as you reach your first destination, another picture. Do something, another picture. Reach home, another picture. Now, if you consistently do that for a month, and if somebody averages your time frame, think about this. Think about what I'm saying. If somebody averages your time frame and says, okay, 8 a.m., he or she is somewhere near any town. And this is the place where he or she gets up every day. Every afternoon, he or she goes for a cup of coffee in this particular restaurant, same restaurant, almost every day. So if somebody is to kidnap you, wouldn't that make his or her work easy? Think about it. Now, also, there's a new trend which we see on YouTube. Okay, people who have become YouTubers. Okay, and how to do that, and how do they work on it? what they do is they make videos on their lifestyles, daily things that they do. Okay, now with it comes certain consequences. Now people who do that on YouTube, they earn money through it. Okay, how? What they do is they monetize their videos to the use of video monetization. Okay, they are able to gain certain amount from YouTube. Now you must be thinking, why does YouTube pay them that amount? Okay, now it's how it generally works. Now what YouTube does is, if you are one of those YouTubers, generally you will see those people trying to advertise or market certain products and services. So normally these services that are marketed, the company for these products, they pay YouTubers or sometimes even YouTube for advertising the product and services. So if you are a very famous person, for let's say, if you look at Instagram, Cristiano Ronaldo, he has close to about 356 million followers. So if he puts in a post on Instagram on daily basis, there's close to about 1 point or 5 point something billion people viewing his posts. So if I'm supposed to market my product, and if it meets my budget, I give that much of money to Cristiano Ronaldo, and he stands up or takes a photograph in the product, and people go crazy buying that item. Okay, so that's how it generally works, and YouTube makes money something as such. But okay, if you are a company whereby, or if you are a staff of a company, employee of a company, whereby you hold critical or confidential information, it's better to be someone who is hidden. For instance, CEO of Google, okay, Sanjay Pichai, okay, so he's the CEO for Google, okay. People hardly see any posts coming up for him on social media. He is the one who controls Google at the moment. He's the one who controls everything. People hardly see his social life on social media. Why? Because with his life is linked a company which is worth more than about tens of hundreds of $billions. Okay, so first point, rethink what you reveal on social media. Second point, develop policies for handling sensitive requests such as password resets over the phone. In fact, I don't think you should be changing passwords over the phone or changing passwords to the use of emails. Why? If you have to change passwords, do it straight away on the system yourself. If it needs to be a bank, go to the bank, get it done, whereby you are sitting face to face. In, let's say, ANZ case, you're sitting face to face with an staff of ANZ, and you are able to see the screen there and then. And third point is, have a security audit done. Security audit is whereby, now there are a few ways you can get security audit done. Sometimes you have a content filtering system whereby all the content is filtered. Sometimes you have a inception system whereby whatever unknown objects or foreign objects come into a network, you actually intercept, and then you actually view what all things are there. And security audit, in this case, what it simply means, because related to social engineering, is you should always go and get a security check up for your entire system at a regular period. Ransomware. Now, ransomware, somebody basically does something to you through the use of the internet, okay, and then they demand for certain amount of money. Okay, now first one, hackers hold your website hostage, often posting embarrassing content such as porn until you pay a ransom. Now this is very common, okay, and don't be surprised, these things happen here in Fiji as well. A few years back, close to about 5 or 6 years back, I was involved in a research project with a university, and we were working on something as a similar topic as this. You won't believe it, we had so many people here in Fiji which ended up paying money with the concept which we are talking about, ransomware. So what happened? They went to online dating sites, most of them, okay, and through those sites, so they ended up giving up pictures or giving up personal pictures. I hope you understand what I mean when I said personal pictures and stuff, okay. So ended up sharing with the other person, okay, and the other person took photographs of that, made a video of it, and posted it up on YouTube. Now, when he or she posted up on YouTube, he or she didn't share it with anyone, just shared it with himself or herself. Okay, now and then after sharing it to himself or herself, that means nobody else would be able to see it except for that person and whom the person sends that specific link to. So after doing it, so this person sends a link to the other person, the one who ended up exposing his or her picture and videos, and told him or her, you have to pay me $5,000 cash USD. If you don't pay me this much, I will release this on YouTube. Moreover, I have seen your husband or wife on Facebook, okay, and we will reveal all these things to them. It's an example for ransomware. And you, like I mentioned, you won't be surprised. This has happened here in Fiji, and we had so many people who ended up paying it. Okay, so how do you handle such matter? Don't put yourself in a situation whereby you have to give money. Okay, be careful with online scams. Be careful with online posting. Be careful what information or what resource you give out to whom. Second point, $5 million is extorted each year. What is extorted? It's like somebody, somebody basically kidnaps you something and you are asked to pay extortion. The real cost is the data loss. Paying the ransom doesn't mean you get files back. Now, when you talk about extortion, generally in specific terms, extortion, we end up paying if somebody kidnaps a particular person. Okay, so we end up paying money. Over here, extortion is not specifically about a person, because nobody can kidnap a person through the use of online means, but somebody can get hold of your data. Sometimes somebody gets hold of data, and in exchange, they want another set of data. They do not want money, they want data. Okay, so these things happen. Now, you'll be too surprised to know this. Sometimes, you have these big games, these very common games on Play Store, whereby you are ranked in those games. So the person who's most ranked, he or she, is given a title on the gaming manufacturer's website. This is the best person on playing this game. Okay, so generally the person who is on the first of the list, okay, they are given money. One, sometimes they attract a lot of advertisers. Sometimes they attract a lot of other companies who want to try out the games with them, knowing that this person is so expert in playing this particular types of game, he or she can actually go and think of faults in the gaming system. Now, people sometimes, even you have to go around and read this on the web, sometimes these people are targeted for extortion as well, online extortion. So you must be very, very careful with these things. Hackers locked the network at Alabama ABC TV station, demanding a ransom to remove a red screen on every computer. Very common. We had this we had this even for FP News website a few years back. So our website was hacked. So the files was all blocked. Okay, so when you view FP News website, you'll see a hangman image, and in return they wanted a certain amount of money. Okay, unfortunately, fortunately, here at FNU, they were able to get that removed without paying anything. Your best defense, as with malware, do not click suspicious links or unknown websites. Regularly back up your data. Use software that specially checks for new exploits. Okay, so how do you get it done? You have, like I said, an intrusion detection system, a content filtering system. You can even use a firewall, or you can get a security audit done every now and then. Now, questions. Let's go and discuss those questions very, very quickly. All right. Question number 1. Define information ethics and information security and explain whether they are important to help prevent hackers from gaining access to an organization. Okay, I think I did discuss that right at the very beginning. Let's go over it anyway. Okay, so when you talk about information ethics, can you please go around writing it down? So information ethics, give a dash. It governs the ethical and moral issues. It governs the ethical or moral issues arising from the development and use of arising from the development and use of arising from the development and the use of information technologies. Full stop. And use of information technologies. Full stop. Ethical dilemmas or dilemma, whichever version you pronounce it as. Ethical dilemmas in this area usually arise. Ethical dilemmas in this area usually arise not as simple, not as simple, clear-cut situations, but not as simple, clear-cut situations, but but as clashes between competing goals, but as clashes between competing goals, competing as in competition, competing goals, responsibilities, responsibilities, and loyalties. But as clashes between competing goals, responsibilities, and loyalties. Full stop. Information security is a broad term. Information security is a broad term encompassing, 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 encompassing the protection of information, encompassing the protection of information from accidental or intentional misuse by persons inside or outside an organization, by persons inside or outside an organization. Full stop. So we'll answer the second part, explain why they are important to help prevent hackers from gaining access to a network. So write down, both are critical to every organization. Both are critical to every organization. Full stop. Information ethics ensures that there is protection of data, without the use of any policies. Without the use of any policies. This normally ensures information is protected. This normally ensures that information is protected from insiders. Information is protected from insiders. Full stop. So what I've mentioned here is, when you talk about information ethics, okay, you don't have any policies on information ethics. Ethics is not documented, okay? But what it does is, if someone is morally right, okay, and does things morally in a morally right way, he or she will ensure data is protected or information is protected, okay? And normally information ethics is targeted more to those people who are working within the organization, the insiders, okay? Now, when you talk about information security, so continue writing. Information security is the protection of information. Information security is the protection of information with the use of policies. First of all, it allows protection. It allows protection both from insiders as well as outsiders. It allows protection both from insiders as well as outsiders. Full stop. Question number 2. Identify 2 e-policies that a business could implement to ensure the protection of sensitive corporate data from hackers. Now, there are close to about in total 6 e-policies, okay? If you would go through your lecture notes, we have talked about it. There are 6, so you can list down any 2 of them. So I'll give you the entire 6, so you can choose any one from there. Also, you should be knowing the definitions between them, definition of them rather. So first one is you have ethical computer use policy, computer use policy, ethical computer use policy. Give a dash. I'll give you simple definitions to remember. Give a dash. General principles to guide computer user behavior. General principles to guide computer user behavior. Full stop. The next policy is information privacy policy. Information privacy policy. Information privacy policy. Give a dash. General principles regarding information privacy. General principles regarding information privacy. The next policy that you have is acceptable use policy. Acceptable use policy. So dash, a policy that a user must agree, a policy that a user must agree a policy that a user must agree to use or attain, to use or attain, ATTAIN, to use or attain, ATTAIN, to attain a computing service. Full stop. Next policy is email privacy policy. Next policy is email privacy policy dash details the extent to which extent is EXTENT, details the extent to which email messages may be read by others. Details the extent to which email messages may be read by others. Next policy, social media policy. Give a dash. These are guidelines or principles. These are guidelines or principles These are guidelines or principles governing employee online communications. Governing employee online communications. Full stop. Governing employee online communications. Full stop. The next policy that we have is employee monitoring policy. Employee monitoring policy. Dash states explicitly how, comma, states explicitly spelling explicitly, explicitly how, explicitly states explicitly how, comma, when, comma, and how, comma, when, comma, and where the company monitors its employees, and where the company monitors its employees. Full stop. Question number 3. Demonstrate how a business can use authentication and authorization technologies to prevent hackers from getting access to organizational systems. So let's go and demonstrate that. So start writing. Authentication is a method for confirming users. Authentication is a method. Authentication is a method for confirming users, for confirming users. Users is apostrophe, is S and apostrophe. In other words, it's USERS with an apostrophe. Users indicating many users. Users identities. Full stop. Confirming users identities. Full stop. Once a system determines, once a system determines the authentication of a user, the authentication of a user, comma, it can then determine the access privileges, the access privileges, privileges, access privileges for that user, full stop. Now, next line. Authorization is the process of authorization is a process of providing a user with permission, a user with permission including access levels, and ability to access certain resources within the organization, and ability to access access certain resources within the organization. Stop. Question number 4. Okay, analyze how a business can use prevention and resistance technologies to safeguard its employees from hackers and viruses. Now, there are 3 ways, okay? So we'll go and look at those. First one is content filtering. Content filtering, give a dash or hyphen. When organizations use software that filters content, comma, example emails, e.g example emails, comma, example emails, comma, to prevent the accidental or malicious transmission of unauthorized information. Malicious, malicious, malicious transmission of unauthorized information. Right. The next prevention and resistance technology is encryption. Encryption, encryption, encryption. It scrambles plain text It scrambles plain, P-L-A-I-N, plain text into a unreadable form. It scrambles plain text into a unreadable form. Full stop. It requires a set of decryption keys. It requires a set of decryption keys to transform into its original form. To transform into its original form. Full stop. The next resistance prevention and resistance technology, okay, is a firewall. Firewall, give a dash, a hardware, comma, software, comma, or combination of both, a hardware, comma, software, comma, or combination of both, that analyzes incoming and outgoing information, that analyzes incoming and outgoing information based on certain configuration rules, that analyzes incoming and outgoing information based on certain configuration, CONFIGURATION, configuration rules. Full stop. Next question, question number 5. Explain why hackers want to gain access to organizational data. Well, the answer is very simple. Data includes the keys to the kingdom. The answer is given in form of parables. Data includes the keys to the kingdom. Kingdom representing business, okay? Data includes the keys to the kingdom. And if a hacker gains access to it, comma, your business might be doomed. Gains access to it, comma, your business might be doomed. D-O-O-M-E-D. Full stop. Question number 6. Evaluate additional ways hackers can gain access to organizational data. So what are some ways in which hackers can gain access to your organizational data? Let's write down something in simple manner in which you can easily write, in which you can easily understand. First one, hackers can walk through Hackers can walk through your network via the means of backdoor hacking. Hackers can walk through your network via the use of backdoor hacking. Full stop. Next line, or probably next point. Hackers could social engineer an employee. Hackers could social engineer an employee to reveal confidential information. To reveal confidential information. So what could be some confidential information we're talking about? Business tactics, competitive intelligence, intellectual property, username passwords, and so forth. Okay. Next point. Hackers could go through dumpsters to find sensitive information. Hackers could go through dumpsters, 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 to find sensitive information. Hackers could go through dumpsters to find sensitive information. What are dumpsters? Remember, this concept is derived from dumpster hacking, okay, or dumpster diving. What happens is normally hackers would go through your recycle bin or go through items which you have trash off and may find something that may allow them to gain advantage in hacking. Okay. And the last point that we have is hackers could hack into the system, into the wireless network. Hackers could hack into the system through wireless networks. So that finishes case study number 1. Let's go on and read this case study 2, for which you have 3 small questions. So case study 2 is on snow closure downtown. In Seattle is basically a place in the States. Okay, rain is not a problem, but snow is rare. The snow in Seattle finally began melting after 10 long days in February 2019, the snow's February on record since 1916. The entire city came to a hard stop due to its steep hills and people unfamiliar with driving in snow. So it started snowing for 10 days and all of a sudden the snow started to melt. So I remember in countries like states, okay, especially in Seattle, so massive snow, okay, so 10 days of snow started melting. It blocked the roads, blocked the streets, and also as per paragraph 1 it says it's on a hilly or steep area, okay, so it became difficult for people to drive through, so eventually difficult for them to go to work. Seattle is home for such firms as Amazon and Microsoft, both hit hard by the unexpected fluffy white powder. For all the worry about artificial intelligence and robots replacing workers, it was surprising to see how many companies still heavily rely on people and applications to get from one place to another. Uber and Lyft. Uber is a taxi service, sort of a taxi service, and Lyft as well, very much similar to Uber, had few available drivers even in the downtown where streets were being cleared. Amazon Fresh could not complete scheduled grocery deliveries. Amazon Prime now orders could not be delivered. So just because of the massive snow, people were not able to go to work, and companies like Amazon and Microsoft, they are basically based in Seattle, and just because of that, they couldn't allow their shipments or orders to be delivered. The hardest hit when the gig economy has this type of meltdown are the drivers and delivery people who are not getting paid unless they are working. Now, gig economy is a sort of an economy whereby in exchange of labor, you do your labor work and you're paid money for it. Okay, but most of these things they go on a digital platform. Now, that's very much similar. We also belong to a gig economy because we offer our labor services, okay, and based on that, we are being paid for it. Now, in in countries like the States, their gig economy is generally known for these people who are working for labor services. Example, street cleaners, taxi drivers, basically for labor services. People who work in office, they are not part of gig economy. Okay. Now, nowadays, grocery chains try to use inventory management software to keep shelves stocked, but nothing could prepare local outlets for the storm panic shopping that cleared the aisles of staples such as milk, eggs, bread, and strangely, celery. Okay, so just like a panic situation, now when COVID was introduced back last year, people started panicking, buying things, even this year as well. Okay, so very much similar. Social media, however, became interestingly useful for things like figuring out which stocks had restocked their eggs and celery, and which roads had been cleared, and to flag neighbors when Amazon Prime now did open open up a few more delivery slots, with classes in most of the districts either cancelled, starting late, or ending early for 7 days, and daycare centers closed as well. Childcare matchmaking moved to social networks as well. Now, what it's saying till now is this: since everything was into a stop, okay, or a certain level of stoppage, people started depending more on social media. Okay, some parents were canceling nannies because they had to stay home anyhow. Others were desperate for a sitter because their nanny couldn't drive in the snow. Help for an old neighbor who needs groceries or a pregnant woman who needs a prescription can easily be outsourced on Facebook neighborhood groups. So that's how Facebook is working. It's very much working similar now here in Fiji. Now this is for 2019, by the way. So 2 years later, social media has hit that level of importance here in Fiji, whereby we started selling things, or we have already started selling things and extensively exchanging products and items for monetary value over the use of social media. Snow is not a big deal in colder climates, but for Seattle, it was an awakening to some of the weak and stroke points of many of the application services that have transformed how we consume goods and information. The gig economy is not as robust as it seems when its operating environment is disrupted. Okay. On the other hand, the weather turned back the clock to a time where we realized social media were being used to hoover up our data without permission. It reminded me of how useful it can be for things like sharing information, taking photos of snowy landscape, helping neighbors, and yes, blowing off steam when you are stuck at home for a few days or 4 days. Maybe Facebook should hold its next product planning meeting during a blizzard. Okay, it's just describing how important social media is part of our lives. In one way or other, we normally tend to look at the downfalls. However, do remember this: social media and these platforms, they were not created for the purpose of misusing it. They were created for the purpose of disseminating information, for the purpose of making communication easier, and also for businesses to grow. Over time, people start finding faults in things which was actually created or done to bring in good within the economy or within the environment. Let's go and discuss these questions. How can a business continuity plan help a company prepare for disasters such as a snowstorm? So how would it do so? Okay. You write down the answers, please. Okay, just 3 questions, probably another 15-20 minutes, we will be done with it. Okay, the key to being prepared is to plan. The key to being prepared is to plan. Full stop. A BCP is business continuity plan. A BCP can help a company. A BCP can help a company jump into action during unexpected outages. Jump into action during unexpected outages. Jump into action during unexpected outages, full stop. Having a plan for how employees can work. Having a plan for how employees can work remotely is key. Full stop. You also want to have clear, full stop, you also want to have clear, you also want to have clear evacuation plans. Evacuation, EVACUATION, evacuation plans. And to ensure employees have family support. Employees have family support. When cities or towns are shut. Employees have family support when cities or towns are shut. Now, business continuity plan is just a way or a measure of making sure that despite certain circumstances, businesses still continue with the normal day operation. It's very much common here in Fiji as well. You know, when you have hurricanes, we have cyclones, we have flooding. Okay, COVID also major one of the lessons to learn from. Okay, so businesses who had a continuity plan, they managed to work as usual. Their work continued. They were still earning their revenue, probably to a little extent, but still earning rather than coming to a complete stop. Okay, moreover, now another thing about business continuity plan is you have to think about your employees as well. So with that, if employees are stuck at workplaces, so they are probably looking after them, their welfare in terms of food, and clothing items and so forth. Moreover, their families back home. Let's say if you get stuck in a flood, you are in a 4-story building, your first floor is all flooded, you can't go home. So what do? You have to stay in there. And also at the same time, employees need to be well taken care of. So that's part of business continuity plan. Unfortunately, here in Fiji, we hardly have businesses working on business continuity plans. Big organizations do have business continuity plans. Okay. Now, question number 2. You believe emergency communications are critical part of a BDP? Should be BCP. Is it BCP or BDP? Should be BCP. Okay, business continuity plan. So Write down your answers. Without communications, it would be impossible. Without communications, it would be impossible for the employees to know how to respond to an attack, how to respond to an attack or a stormy weather. Full stop. Moreover, testing of the communication systems is also critical. Moreover, testing of the communication systems is also critical. Semicolon. You don't want it to be down. Semicolon. You don't want it to be down when in, you don't want it to be down when in dire need, D-I-R-E, dire need. Now, in other words, so do you believe emergency communications are a critical part of business continuity plan? Yes, they are. Why? Because if there's no communication systems, it will become difficult or impossible for employees to communicate with one another. Moreover, not just communication systems, you need to ensure that they are tested and they are working well. Now, how do you ensure that? Let's say you have bought a new system and it's been lying there for about 5 or 6 years, haven't been used. Make regular checks, make regular testing, or try to run the system every now and then. Let's say probably a month, within a month, or every fortnight, an employee could be allocated for the testing phase, okay, just to see if it's working. Let's say if it's there and when it comes to a need, it stops working or it doesn't work, so that might be a bummer. Okay, so it means like there will be no use having it. Question number 3, last question. What types of new technologies could companies like Amazon and Direct Fresh use to deliver packages during a disaster? By the way, Direct Fresh is just like Amazon Fresh. They deliver fruits and vegetables and fresh items and groceries. Okay, so what could be some of the new technologies? So in terms of those snowy environments where transports cannot go, how can you deliver items? If you're thinking boats, sorry, snow boats can't work. Okay, one of the latest technologies, talks about new technologies, by the way, that you can use is drones, D-R-O-N-E-S. Drones, they can be used to deliver goods to people. Drones can be used to deliver goods to people. Now you must be thinking, if somebody needs grocery, how can drones be used? Would they be able to carry items? Are there drones as big as such? Your answer for both the questions is yes. Yes, there are big drones which can carry items. 2, yes, they can carry groceries. Sometimes they may not be carry the amount of groceries that you buy for a month, but it can give you groceries that you can use for a day or two, as long as probably just enough to allow you to manage for a few days. And once things are back to normal within those days, you'll be fine. Okay, so it does exist. Now in countries like lately there was a research done in health informatics, whereby this group of people, what they did was they developed a drone for countries where it became very difficult for people to travel. And also, when you have those African countries whereby diseases are to its max and people are not able to travel. Okay, so what they do is they transfer blood through the use of drones. Okay, so yeah, so that can work, and it is working. So the answer there is drones. All right, so that finishes up our total class for today. Do you have any questions, any queries, anyone? Any questions, any queries? Now, if no questions or no queries, thank you very much for joining in. Thank you very much for your time. Also, please keep up with your revision. Try to ensure and try your very best to get your critic writings submitted by this weekend. Those of you have already submitted, thank you. And those of you who are yet to start, you need to fasten up the pace. Okay, so thank you everyone. See you all next week. Penaka